Hello everyone, this is Ronan Blue. Just taking my daily walk here in Kota Kinabalu, Sabah, Borneo in East Malaysia. So it's always difficult to say that, but that's the name of the place. But today's topic would be on why personal finance is never taught. So I always found it very interesting how personal finance was never taught through our schooling system, and it should be because it's probably one of the most important things you can to learn, to educate yourself about, because money touches everything around you, right? I mean, that's how the whole socialist educational system teaches us to do. It teaches us to get an education, and it teaches us to study certain subjects so we can use it in the corporate field, right? They're always trying to make us into those good little corporate soldiers. So we're trying to, you know, to get that education in order to get the salary, and then to overall pay into the system by buying materialism. So that's how the whole system is designed. But what's interesting is that the government actually does not. Some schools, yeah, they have these little tiny classes, 1 or 2 subjects, I guess, that teaches a little bit about personal finance. But in the majority of the cases, they do not teach it, and it's terrible. And I think that's the whole reason why there's so much debt right now, personal debt. And you know, the savings rate, for example, is 6.5% for the average American. And you essentially need about you need to save about 20% of your income to retire comfortably by the age of 65. But that is actually not taught. But the professional schooling system still hasn't really made its adjustments to match up to what it is today. I mean, they still teach you how to get those high-paying jobs, and unfortunately, they don't teach you how to, you know, save money, basically, you know, and look at your personal finances. Our society in whole teaches us to spend, right? Materialism and consumerism. But the thing about the job industry today is unlike what it was in the 1950s or 60s, where you enter into a corporation, you're pretty much in there for the rest of life. In today's day and age, there's a whole bunch of other factors that are mixed up together. I mean, there's job hopping, and there's also layoffs as well. That's become quite normal in our job history. I was laid off, but I'm saying that there's so many more factors today that personal finance becomes even more important than before. In the 1950s and 60s, there's a lot more security. You know, it only required one person to work, and the housewife stayed at home. But now things have changed. There's more equality between the genders, and in both parties, you know, have that 9-to-5 job and that dual income, because it becomes a necessity, really, because everything is becoming a lot more, the standard of living is becoming a lot more expensive. So that's the whole reason why. But another reason why that personal finance isn't taught in school is because the teachers themselves don't know about it themselves. I mean, they came from an older generation where personal finance was never taught to them as well, so they actually don't know much about it either. And although, you know, saving that penny, we're all sort of taught that, I guess. Well, some of us anyways, about the piggy bank, where you're supposed to put your quarters into, and then to fill up that piggy bank. I mean, yeah, there's that, but then the majority of people actually, you know, parents especially, don't really become the best teachers of personal finance, because the children themselves see their parents purchasing everything with that piece of plastic, the credit card. So, you know, it just becomes a repeated cycle from generation to generation, from the parents to the children, and the children's children. So especially the children today, they're born into a society where debt has become normalized, and it's really normal to buy a home, or buy a car, or buy those gadgets, or whatever the heart desires, to have that instant gratification. So that's essentially what what our society is teaching us today, that debt is okay. Even the government in itself is in trillions of dollars in debt. But I mean, we learn a lot from our parents, right? We learn about manners and being polite, and we learn about socializing with other people. Unfortunately, parents don't teach too much about personal finance. So that becomes a repeated cycle after generation to generation. So actually, teachers are also under a lot of pressure as well to have their students get that passing grade, right? And so that's why teachers are distracted. Not distracted, but they're specific to their own particular subjects to teach. And they're not really interested too much in personal finance because the government is behind it, teaching the teachers below them. And that's essentially how the educational system works, right? So no one really has time to teach personal finance as well, unfortunately. So essentially, no one really knows where to start for personal finance. And I'm not trying to be mean or anything, but the stats show that a lot of people don't know anything about personal finance, and that explains why there's so much personal debt out there. And it's actually really important to really focus on self-education and self-improvement. Otherwise you may be in a case where within the category of people who are in extreme debt in the future. But another issue is that a lot of the younger kids, the students, the college kids, when they get their first job, they find budgeting really boring, right? And the majority of people, when they get their first job, I mean, they don't have to rely on their parents anymore to get that allowance to get the things that they want. They're working, they're getting their first incomes, so it makes sense that they're spending away. But there's some young kids today who are actually realizing the economic state that we're in North America, especially with the stagnant wages and the layoffs and the global slowdown of the economy, all of those in combination. Some of those kids, younger kids, are being educated. I'm not sure from where, maybe the media or from their parents, who knows what it is, but it's a very rare instance that some of those kids are knowing what's going on, and they do start to save at a very earlier age, and they actually jumpstart their personal finance future, and that's great to see. But another reason why that personal finance isn't taught is because of the almighty consumerism, right? So that's being indirectly taught to us, to buy things, right? You're a good person if you buy a particular product. Society teaches you this, whether it be your friends, whether it be your co-workers, whether it be your family. They're always telling you to buy things, right? You should buy that big house, you should buy those gadgets. It makes you a better person, and it's showing society your status. So that's essentially what the majority of people are actually exposed to. So it actually overpowers what personal finance is, and saving and budgeting and all that. So it becomes a bigger issue but of course it's not that happening in all parts of the world. I mean, it's case by case. For example, here in Malaysia and in Thailand, they're actually pretty good at managing their money. A lot of the people actually save up whenever they have to make any kind of purchase, like whether it be a vehicle or home or something like that. They actually save a large portion before actually buying those products. So that's become pretty much a normality here, or it's always been the case here. The same case would be in Japan as well. They have less of a credit card mentality compared to North America, where we We pull out our credit cards for everything and anything. So, but you can easily look at all of the stats in North America and see that you know, personal finance isn't really being focused on. Like the average student actually has around 40,000 US in debt, and also only about 40% of the population at the age of 40 has savings of $100,000. And about 59% of Americans actually don't have a general idea of their personal finances. So all that in combination really shows that personal finance should actually be emphasized more. But then there has been a rise of personal finance bloggers, and it's good that you know, some of the population is being educated with personal finance, because it's going to be more and more, it's going to become more and more important in the future, especially with the way that the economy is going right now. Well, I think I have my vlog here today. Tell me what you think of the lack of education out there for personal finance in the comment section below. If you like this vlog, please don't forget to give me a like, subscribe if you haven't already, and hit that notification bell for more of my coming content here. Thank you for watching my vlog. Be free, gain wealth, and travel far.